plants are responsive to gravity. This response is known as gravitropism. It helps direct the plant upwards in shoots and downwards in roots. Thus, gravitropism helps plants acquire nutrients and water in roots, and collect sunlight by directing the shoots. Gravitropism also helps to enable that plants are structurally sound and won't tip over. It is also useful for climbing plants, as it guides them to grow upwards. In the mountains of Switzerland, gravitropism is utilized to create an instrument called the Alphorn, as people would find trees which had been growing from the side of a mountain in this shape. In plant science, a tropism is the sensing and movement of a plant in response to an external stimulus. There are a number of stimuli that plants have the amazing ability to respond to, such as the aforementioned gravitropism. There are also others, including thigmotropism, which is the response to touch, and phototropism, which is the response to light, as well as many more. In any given tropism, a plant will turn and grow towards or away from a stimulus, and the extent to which this can occur depends on the strength of the stimulus, interaction with other stimuli, and the limitations of the plant itself. These tropisms are essential for plant growth, development, and health. Gravitropism is the movement of plant roots and shoots in response to the stimulus of gravity, as gravity is a constant mechanical force exerted on plant bodies, as they contain mass. Plant organs and organelles have advantageously evolved to sense gravitational vectors relative to the direction of plant growth. This video will specifically focus on gravitropism in higher plants, but then again, it is worth quickly noting that lower plants, animals, and fungi also show responses to gravitational fields. While gravitropism is an effective guiding mechanism to curve plants, stimuli to more essential inputs may obstruct the full movement potential. For example, water will draw roots towards the source, and light will orient the shoots. Tropisms will not cancel each other out completely, but the orientation and growth in both roots and shoots will be an intermediary angle from the balance of tropism effects. Gravitropism is not independent and interacts largely with phototropism in shoots and roots. It is interesting to see how the sinking of ameloplasts within specialized cells are the main cause of gravitropism. Ameloplasts are plastids that function to synthesize and store starch. Specialized ameloplasts, which have greater weight or density than the surrounding cytoplasm, are referred to as statoliths or starch statoliths. Higher plants predominantly use these ameloplasts for gravisensing due to their ability to move around the cytoplasm of the cell and sink towards the direction of gravity. Only certain cells are graviresponsive. A special name is given to graviresponsive cells. This name is statocytes. Not every part of the plant is able to perceive a change in gravity direction. Statocytes are mainly found in the apical meristem and a certain section of the endodermis above ground, and below ground in the root cap. The release of ionic calcium 2+ is important, as it is the key signaling molecule, enzyme regulator, and transporter of graviresponsive hormones such as auxin. The word auxin refers to a class of plant hormones. The most common auxin is indole-3 acetic acid. Auxins are produced in the apical meristem and can be stored in the root cap of plants. They are the moderator of cell division and elongation. Auxin can be transported from cell to cell and/or through the phloem. Auxin is distributed from cell to cell by transport proteins. OX1 is the transport protein which moves auxin into the cell, and PIN is the transport protein responsible for moving auxin out of the cell. The OX1 protein appears at the top of the cell, and the PIN protein is at the underside of the cell. When a cell is reorientated, the PIN proteins are redistributed to the new underside, and auxin is redirected. This causes cell division and elongation to occur in the new direction. The word auxin refers to a class of plant hormones. The most common auxin is indole-3 acetic acid. Auxins are produced in the apical meristem and root cap of plants and are the moderator of cell division and elongation. The statoliths will continue to trigger gravity-sensing signals, causing the corresponding auxin-mediated curvature, until the molecules are settled in a symmetrically distributed resting position, which is most likely also the vertical orientation of the cell. Plants have been observed to show levels of gravitropic response in starch-reduced and starch-deficient plant varieties, indicating that starch-containing amyloplasts may not be the only gravisignaling pathway. Quick quiz. What is the name of the organelles which are moved around specialized cells to sense gravity? Hint, they are also known as starch statoliths. Is it A, B, C, or D? The correct answer is D. A. Statocytes is the name given to any cell which senses gravitropism. Columella cells. These cells are statocytes which specifically occur in the root tip. Starch sheath. This is the name given to the endodermis in shoots when it contains enough amyloplasts to be graviresponsive. An experiment was conducted to show the effects of the root cap in root gravitropism. The roots which possessed their root cap were able to redirect themselves upon being reorientated. For some of the roots, the root cap was removed. This took away the statocytes, so gravitropism was not evident. An experiment was also conducted to observe the effects of gravity on the shoots. A common bean plant, which had previously been growing upright, was tipped on its side at a 90-degree angle. As you can see, this triggered stem bending and the redirection of plant growth, so the plant reorientates itself and remains upright. This experiment was conducted under white light. Therefore, it was likely both phototropism and gravitropism played a role in this reorientation of plant growth, as these two tropisms are known to work together. Another variation was made. This was the removal of the apical meristem. With the removal of the apical meristem, the plant was still able to respond to gravity. This is because the statocytes appear all the way up the stem, unlike the roots, which only contain statocytes in the root cap. To test the response of gravitropism in some other plants, a comparison was made between two different plants. These were Agravalia and an invasive species known as Mother of Millions. A tent peg was used to force the stem of each plant to be horizontal, and each plant was observed for 14 days. The Mother of Millions showed signs of gravitropic bending within 3 days. Within 10 days, the stem had bent all the way up to the tent peg. The main stem of the Grevillea has not shown any major signs of reorientation during the 14-day period. On the contrary, its soft flower buds did show some gravitropic bending. Gravitropism is a highly important tropism which directs plant growth along the vector of gravity. It is essential for the survival of almost all plants, as it is used to maximize sunlight and water and nutrient availability. It too helps plants be structurally sound. Gravitropism is directed by the sinking of amyloplasts in statocytes, sensed through the endoplasmic reticulum, which release calcium 2+ ions, signaling the distribution of auxin. Yet there are still numerous unknowns in the understanding of the complete sensory, signaling, and responsive system of gravitropism. These unknowns will direct future plant science research in its advancement to understand whole plant functioning systems. It is therefore evident that gravitropism is imperative in plants. It, after all, portrays the inextricable link that living things share with their abiotic surroundings.